Welcome to How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. We're here to chat about humane leadership in a way that's real and relatable, tackling work-life challenges and offering practical advice to navigate tough decisions. Whether you're leading a team or navigating your own career, we've got you covered. I'm Chris Holerking, a Fortune 100 IT leader, and with me is Roberto Torres, a startup engineering leader. We'll dive into real-world stuff, share experiences, and offer guidance on leading with compassion while keeping your career on track. Today, we'll discuss how a humane leader prepares for AI leadership takeover. Hey, Roberto, some scary AI stuff continues to happen in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, and actually, yesterday was Anthropist Cloud Lake, so we have current news to talk.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know that humane leadership was in the code that they released or not. Um, it will be interesting to see as people dig into that to see how the logic works and see if it's as logical as us humane leaders, right? It'll be interesting to see what they uncover.
That is a discussion that we had previously to record this podcast that you and I deferred, and I think that it wouldn't, and you would.
Well, certainly AI is coming to the workplace, right? I think we're in agreement on that. AI is coming to the workplace, and it is going to
Has
replace some jobs because it's replaced some jobs already. But as humane leaders, what are we doing to prepare our teams for how AI is going to take over? So you're still working. You've got a team you're leading right now. What kinds of things are you doing to prepare as AI is going to take over more roles and maybe, I know we disagree here, but maybe takes over some types of leadership things? How are you preparing your team? How are you preparing yourself for AI takeover?
okay. First of all, um, not everybody in my team is happy about AI. They their reasons for the people who are against is that the code is so robotic that it doesn't bring the human sense to it, that it is like easy peasy rather than a thoughtful process of creation, among other things, such as also one engineer told me that he wasn't happy about AI because what he loved was to dig out, to find out information about certain things that he had to do that he didn't know how to do it. So he went to different websites to fetch and gather all this information and then bring it on and begin creating it and everything. That is some part, and others are willingly to use AI. So the thing is, uh, we had to understand, and that's what I tell my team, is that using AI doesn't substitute you. Using AI, what it does is potentially increases the knowledge that you will have and the growth that you might do. I will go a little bit technical over here. But if we say to the AI, hey, create a Fibonacci test that a junior would do, well, it would create maybe 80 lines of code with a couple of mistakes. But if you are a senior and you ask AI, hey, create a Fibonacci test as a staff engineer, what I will do, it might take those 80 lines to maybe 5 or 6 or 10 with no mistakes. So people will learn, will say, hey, what did this happen with as a staff engineer? Why did it use this method, this function? And from there you could grab it and learn and do it. So I think that what I talk with my team regarding AI is for them to learn, not to use a tool and do not review it.
Yeah, I can follow that. I think the coaching is like adopting other technologies, if we go way, way back, when browsers first started coming up or Google search started coming up, right? We had to teach people how to do more complicated searches to find the details they were really looking for. If you didn't learn some of the very basic commands of and include this, but or exclude things that have that, your Google search results were impacted by the quality or the skill of the searcher. So if you as the employee or us as humane leaders were coaching our teams, we would coach them to be able to do better syntax in their Google searches to get better quality results. I think AI is kind of in that stage right now, in that if you do, and there used to be a lot more articles about it, about prompt engineering, right? If two engineers prompted for that code to the same AI, but one wrote a better prompt, they'd get better results of that. I think the same is probably true if you're prompting AI for a marketing campaign or a sales campaign or an accounting question. If you wrote a better query to the AI, the accountant gets a better answer back. We're kind of in that stage of adoption, I think, currently. And so some team members are resistant to it, right? Just like there were people who were resistant to use the internet or use any technology. I think as humane leaders, we need to prepare our teams, all members of the team, is that this is coming whether we like it or not. That's how the internet was when companies first started to get online. It's coming whether you like it or not. PCs are coming whether you like it or not. Cell phones that work expects to be able to get a hold of you 24 hours, 7 days a week. It came, it happened. I think people are getting better at saying no at certain times than we were a decade or two ago. But these kinds of changes are coming to the workplace. And as humane leaders, we need to help our teams determine the pace that they can adopt it. And different people will adopt it at different paces, at different levels of comfort, right? So we might have some team members that are early adopters, right? This is a product marketing phrase, right? Early adopters are the ones that first they see it, they're willing to try it, even though it may not provide great results, they're going to try it right away. And then there's the late adopters who are very resistant. I want to keep doing it the old way. I want the old way. The problem is the old way won't be as cost effective. And as humane leaders, we need to try and engage our teams to get them to understand that, we're working for a living and we're working for a business. And if they refuse the technology, then someone will be outperforming them. And that would be bad for their career, ultimately, right? As humane leaders, we don't want to use the stick on our team members, but ultimately, at the end of the conversation or the end of our coaching, if they still don't understand that AI is coming like a tidal wave, we might have to use the stick a little bit to say, look, I appreciate your stance, Roberto. You're an anti-AIist. You go to street protests and you protest AI. We should never have AI. That's wonderful. But the reality is it's coming. And right now, your coworker is producing 4 times the amount of output at high quality than you are, whatever the job is. So if you don't start to get up to speed, unfortunately, your performance is going to suffer. I think that's the last resort conversation, though. I certainly would not want to start with that as my lead-in topic, but sometimes as humane leaders, we need to look at the worst possible outcome and say, all right, we definitely don't want to get to that point. So how do we make sure we don't hit that worst possible conversation of, look, Roberto, you just haven't adopted this. Everybody's outperforming you. I'm going to have to let you go. As humane leaders, that's the last conversation we ever want to have.
Yeah, indeed. And there are two words over here that happen in the what we just spoke. The first one, it is change, and the second one, it is adoption. So when people do begin doing those queries on Google search back in '01, you had to do math queries, and or between a couple of double quotes and everything to get the information that you required. Now you use NPL, natural processing language, and what you do is rather than having those obsolete queries that you use on Google, you use it on ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. No, what you do is, hey, Claude, I require a marketing campaign for dog sweaters in the middle of summer, which is 112 degrees. And what it will do is it will create this kind of stuff. But the thing is, first of all, you're required to change your mindset. So we human leaders have to change because we know that this wave, which some years ago was my one, but right now it is the size of a house. And maybe in a year it's going to be the size of a building. So we require to change and we require to adopt ourselves and have an adoption of these new, not only technologies, but change of mindset. So it is us as human leaders and our team as well. Because guess what? We won't be stopping a wave that it is the size of a building. We will do this, and the wave will hit us, and will be rolling, and will be several feet away. So we require to teach and to foster and to grow our teams and ourselves as well in this change and adoption mindset.
Yes, and I think, just from my own use of AI, I've seen the improvements in under a year, right? I've seen the improvements that each of the tools has gone through as I use them. And just as an experiment, sometimes when I'm walking the dogs, I turn on the voice mode for ChatGPT or Claude, and I just talk to it as a human. I talk to it and I ask it about, you know, political questions about what's going on with wars, what's going on with elections, what's going on with taxation, what's going on with social programs. And you can get some interesting answers. I think that humane leadership ourselves need to prepare for how humane leadership could be supplemented with AI or maybe even replaced with AI. I think that, as we try and look at this today, you and I would be coaching our teams to adopt AI to help them get their jobs done. We need to also reflect as a humane leader, how do we use AI to help our jobs get done? Maybe we use it to help us be more objective in evaluating our employees because it's pay raise time, right? And we may say, okay, well, let's summarize some of the performance feedback that we've got. We remove the names so that no one can be identified, but we say candidate A did this, this, and this, candidate B did this, this, and this, candidate C did this, this, and this, and I have this much money to spread out as a pay raise pool. What do you think I should do, Claude? Start to embrace it ourselves, because I think the best way for us to put ourselves in the shoes of our employees is to suffer alongside them. And suffer, maybe not the right way. Suffer is to learn and be concerned right alongside them. How might we be replaced by AI? And then we will feel like how our employees feel that are actually doing the tasks, because they might get, some of them or all of them might get replaced by AI. Then we should try and feel the same. We should think about, well, how could AI replace my job? What skills should I be doing? What practices should I be doing so that I know how AI may or may not replace me, or how AI may help me be a better humane leader? That might give us an interesting perspective as we talk to our employees about embracing the technology. Because if we're not using AI for some of our humane leadership things to kind of challenge ourselves to say, is this the right humane way to approach this? Then maybe, maybe we're not living what we're speaking.
Um, okay, I differ a little bit because we have spoken of this, but I think that AI might not do a takeover of a humane leader. A leader, it might. Uh, a leader, it might, but not a human leader because we
A
use.
boss. Let me hold you back. Let me correct for the audience. You mean AI might replace a boss.
Oh yeah.
It won't replace a humane leader.
Oh well, yeah, yeah, totally agree. Because a boss doesn't mind about the humans; he minds only about numbers, and it doesn't care. So it might raise voice. It might, I don't know, do the things that a boss does. But a humiliator uses emotional intelligence. It uses other tools that are related to a humane person who does understand, who makes a connection. So I don't think that AI could mimic that. Maybe it will. Maybe I'm being kind of obtuse. Maybe I'm saying that mobile phones won't last in this world. We're going to connect ourselves through a landline phone. No, maybe I'm kind of that. But I do think that human emotions is something that psychologists and psychiatrists train for many, many years to understand the mind of a human being. So I think that an AI could not mimic today and maybe in the near future that one. When AI does that, we are busted, man. But at least we, with a humiliator, it's going to be difficult to have a takeover by an AI. For a boss, it will, but not a humiliator.
Do you think that AI will help a humane leader reason through what they're planning to do? So using my dog walking example, and while I was primarily asking AI about news and non leadership questions, so to speak, I could take the dog for a walk and say, look, I've got a problem. I'm evaluating Roberto and Chris. I'm trying to determine which one I should make director of engineering. Here's the great qualities that I like about Roberto and what he's bringing to the table. Here's the great qualities that Chris is bringing to the table. Here's some of the issues where Roberto has some problems that he needs to develop better skills at. Here's some that Chris needs to develop better skills at. Hey, Claude, which one do you think I should promote to director of engineering? I think as a humane leader, we kind of owe it to ourselves, just like we might ask our spouse those same things, saying, hey, I'm trying to come to a conclusion here and I'm struggling. I might ask my spouse to take a walk and let me outline my story and what I'm thinking. As humane leaders who are trying to tell our employees to embrace AI, shouldn't we as humane leaders embrace the technology to help us decide things, help us make sure we're being fair and objective? As you mentioned, AI does a real good job of looking at the numbers and being objective.
Yes, but it is only that layer of what Roberto or the other candidate is going to be doing. We are humanity, not humanities. Humans are based on several or many different layers. And what a human can do versus AI, the AI is not only going to watch, to analyze the layer that you are providing, but it's not going to look at what a human can do or what a person can do. Let's say, for instance, we had an episode, I think it was in the first 20 or 30 episodes that we created of this podcast, in which we two episodes in which how would you interview a person from a corporate sense, and I did the same from a startup sense. But both of us made something. We began an introduction. Hey, Chris, how are you? Great to be in here. Hey, could you tell me something about yourself? And from there, people will open up and say something that you might say, oh, this guy talks about himself, his wife, his kids, or someone who might say, "Oh, I'm a excellent director," and that kind of rigid and obtuse. So I think that is a difference between the AI. The AI will only look or analyze only the first few layers, but a human will see many different layers with, of the interview of that candidate. So that is the difference. And maybe the AI will say, hey, go with this candidate because with what has in mind, not in mind, with what has the data, it will provide the best of that, but a human will look further in those layers.
Have you ever looked at the statistics on hiring and the percentage of hires that are considered um, the wrong decision or a poor decision? I don't remember the
Oh,
statistic exactly, so you can't quote me on it, but um, we would go to interview training where I worked. So they would teach us how to interview, how to be fair, objective, don't discriminate, all those kinds of things. But they'd also let you know that, by the way, the percentage of mishires is actually pretty high. So the reason they're trying to instill in you that you need to take the interviewing process very seriously, and even the best interviewers make, and again, I don't remember the percentage, but it was something like 20% or maybe even 25% of the hiring decisions 1 year later were considered to be a mistake.
okay,
Like you picked the wrong candidate.
okay, but look at the opposite. So you did an 80, 75% good. So we
But
have to
what if
see
AI
that
makes it 90% good?
that is something to be seen.
Exactly. So we shall see. I think that AI is, the change is accelerating rapidly. They don't have very good emotional intelligence yet, which is a key factor for humane leadership. But maybe in 2 years, they have near equivalent humane leadership. And I think that their analytics, right, based on data, their analytics in general is better than humans in general. Not always, but in general. So if you can combine good emotional intelligence and good data analysis, they may be better at interviewing than even a humane leader. We'll see.
We'll see. Actually, and just to mention something at the company, I have a pretty good training regarding interview and another one regarding bias and unbiased. So in order to have a good interview, you had to combine both.
Yes.
But yeah, this has been an amazing episode, and I think this is going to be something that we're going to discuss further many
It's a
times.
it's a big topic. I'm gonna enjoy where it goes one way or another.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thanks a lot, man, and I'll see you next time.
See you next week.
Bye bye.